The Crooked Epic, 1, Inn, 1, The Inn of Maniacal Madness, 8, Alex, The Boat, 8C, 2. Draken had the essential tools to create Luca, a biological tool to evolve life forms in his conquered dimension. With the powerful energy he was capable of harnessing within Hob, he was able to sustain a procreated form of reproduction within the DNA of humans, enemy or ally. By controlling the cloned specimens at super subatomic levels, he reconstructed their physical matter to be able to withstand many naturally occurring growth patterns that would inhibit their ability to perform his commands indefinitely. The result was a slave army of cloned duplicates of American men, women, and children. It was a veritable offensive force equivalent to the entire Earth, multiplied at the whim of an incredible plan to dominate the world. His developed fury was mercurial, as Draken had been treated in Italy and swollen to complete unholiness. As Alex looked back down from the precipice where he had only a half hour before killed Barry Reeves for the second time, he gathered his stamina to begin his drop and crossing of the valley and river below. His vindictive urge was unsated, and the nefarious tasks of destroying the tyranny of the vengeful kingdom loomed. With his first step down the almost impossible tread of the cliff, Alex regained his belief and devotion for completion to his destiny. A loud shout broke the moment's silence and echoed around the valley below. Draken's voice cried out from the edge of the woods behind Alex. "You will never escape Hob. Listen to your fear, Alex. It is your fatality's wisdom. The gods of my world own you." Draken emerged from thick brush and onto the cliff, enraged at Alex's attempted impunity and waving his scepter. Alex spun quickly, reaching for the pistol, but fell off the short cliff, tumbling to the riverside over rocks. Draken stood high above and pointed his scepter at Alex and snickered sardonically. Alex limped up to his feet. The Pharaoh of Hob disappeared back away from the cliff and out of sight. Alone, Alex went to the riverside, looking for a way across quickly. The momentum of his survival worked in tandem with the effects of the alien chemicals of the strange planet. He saw the river was not as wide nor deep as the other ones he had seen, so he found a thin spot across with stones half submerged in a fallen log. He stepped over without getting himself wet or falling into the water, which he had learned to distrust by the leeches. Soon he was walking up to the other side of the ravine and into another wooded area leading to a more prominent hill. Once he came to the top of the next hill, Alex was sure he would be able to see Gob from its summit. Instead, he walked across a vast, empty field on a long plateau. The field had patches of grass, but was mostly dirt and rocks, and continued for miles ahead and miles on either side. Alex was surprised at how lost he was and looked out over the almost savanna-like terrain and uninhabited landscape. The arid and desolate plain was confusing, but he pressed forward across and diagonally rightward, which he assumed would be southeast. Hours went by, and Alex started to feel trapped on the plateau. Occasionally, there would be landmarks of noteworthy significance, such as boulders or oases of ponds and swamps, but no matter how far Alex went, he saw no other signs of life besides the plants and some insects, flies, beetles, ants, and spiders. By the time it was early afternoon, Alex had exhausted his last canteen, the only one he had brought away from the campfire. He stopped at a pond and wondered if it was full of leeches, poison, or humanly consumable. Staring into his reflection, he rebuked how beaten and bruised he was, and felt his confidence and self-esteem become tarnished and perturbed. He sat down and looked at the pond's muddy bottom, which was barely a puddle. He kicked a stone into the water and watched it splash and sink to the shallow bottom. When the brother stood back up, he smelled something in the air like smoke. At first, he pondered if it had come from the strange water he had disturbed. He pitched his head back, sniffed the air above him, and waited to feel a breeze. There was a definite sense of something burning in the nearby area, so he walked out of the small grove and looked over the vast plain. He checked the direction he had been walking and the site further left, but it was not until he saw something in his periphery, far right of his path, that he realized the source of the smoke was a solitary small cabin about a half-mile away. Alex walked toward the isolated wooden structure, but as he walked, he realized the distance was at least twice as far as he had estimated. The further he walked, the longer away it seemed to get. The cabin remained a shape on the horizon for half an hour, and when Alex finally made progress in his hike, he realized the smoky smell had receded long ago. Alex had never let the cabin out of his sight and had not seen smoke in the sky as he approached. At last he came to the side of the building and listened for any noises within, looked around the walls, and hesitantly circled the perimeter. Eventually he found a door facing away from the direction he had walked. Without knocking, Alex entered the mysterious building, which was dark and empty and filled with cobwebs. Near a corner of the room was a cutout section of floorboards with a hand-shaped hole, which he lifted. Underneath there was a dank cellar. Alex sat in the doorway with the door ajar and wrote his next letter. It was only late afternoon, but his only hope was to find the person or people who had use of the cabin and try to rob their food. He walked back to the cellar and looked into the darkness as smelly and moist air poured through. Alex slept in the small space under the cabin with his gun in hand. He waited for someone to wake him.